figures from the racing world gathered at a blustery Epsom on Thursday for a comprehensive preview of this year's Investec Derby. Andre Farb's Pourmoire and 2000 Guineas' third Native Khan both worked on the downs, but the man in most demand was the Queen's racing manager John Warren, who had news on Carlton House's impressive final workout at Newmarket.
Yeah, I watched his work. It was nicely impressive. Always hard to tell when there are only two horses in a gallop, but he did it very smoothly. 7 furlongs on the water gallop, came through, moved beautifully, pulled up and looked very in control with himself. He looked nicely fit. So yeah, I think all on target and all very hopeful.
And just looking back at his run in the Dante, it was a bit of a messy race, but certainly afterwards you seemed the most positive of the connections about that performance.
Yeah, and I think that was all part of the educational process, and I'm rather pleased it was a bit messy, because if the horse had literally gone out and sort of made it all too smooth or what have you, perhaps he would have learnt less than he did. The fact that Ryan actually got a little bit bumped at the start of the race when the horse then took hold of his bridle and pulled for about 10 strides. He came back to heel very quickly, which is a great sign of being able to switch the horse back off. And Ryan was determined to actually just tuck him in and bring him from behind. Very slowly run race, as you say. But what impressed us most of all is that when Ryan, who could have had the chance of keeping him out of trouble and just going smoothly on the outside, he took the gamble of sticking him in between horses, and we were very impressed with the way the horse put his head down and really just went straight as a die. When he got lent on a little bit by Seville, it didn't seem to faze the horse one iota, and obviously from Epsom's point of view, you need luck in running. Split seconds will divide the horses into a placed horse or a mid-div horse, and I think Tattenham Corner is going to be quite key. And if you've got a horse that's not committing himself and you lose vital seconds, obviously then that could have a big part to play. So we're hopeful that the horse has got the right brain and attitude to not be fazed by other horses, considering he's an inexperienced horse.
Mm-hmm. And he was a little reluctant to load at York, sort of the big occasion of Derby Day. Is that a concern for you?
Well, it's probably been the only area of discussion, actually, because there's been very little to say about the horse. He's just done everything asked of him. He's very straightforward, uncomplicated. He does his work, and there's been nothing particularly different to say. It was a slight surprise when he took some time to load, but Sir Michael, I think, probably took the view that the horse was so laid back at home and so switched off that he would automatically go in and jump, and I think he was just a bit rusty.
And a few pundits have pointed to the fact that he's by street cry. He might not see out the mile and a half. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, both the sire and the dam were best at 10 furlongs, so we're very mindful, and Ryan Moore keeps reporting to me how much speed the horse has got, so we're very mindful of the fact that he might not stay, but we like the horse's style, and I think the fact that he can switch himself off, he's got a great stride on him and the right temperament, that I think if he was a horse that was a little bit anxious and keen, I think we'd be worried that he was going to burn himself up a little bit too soon. So he'll be ridden with the confidence that he stays a mile and a half, and it's not a bogeyman for me. I've pored over the pedigree time and time again, and there's plenty enough stamina in the pedigree to argue that it should be okay, particularly based on the horse's style.
And of the opposition, we saw Pourmoire and Native Khan earlier today. Who are the horses that are concerning you?
Well, they all concern us, as you know, because it's a decent race. Like every year going into a derby, you're dealing with these young horses that are unexposed at this point. They're actually just starting their career properly, most of them. So who knows where the big horse is going to come from. So they're all a danger. My concerns are probably more to do with his inexperience, the trappy track, the bit of luck or bad luck in running, horse coming back at the moment he wants to go forward. It's sort of that rather than he looks the big danger, because at the moment the bookmakers have taken the view that he is a worthy favourite on form, which is all we can go on at this point. And so it's therefore more to do with luck in running on the day that I see the danger rather than perhaps the opposition.
And final question, of course, that human connections, that the Queen as the owner is the big story, and it must be a very exciting time for her having the Derby favourite.
Yes, obviously if you've been involved for 59 years and it's been your passion and interest, anyone, whether it's the Queen or anyone involved in racing, it's a great experience for her to have a horse building into this race. She's wanted to see every aspect of it. She's wanted to understand it all, and she's really excited and really looking forward to the chances of owning a good horse. Whether the Derby will be his race, only time will tell. But I'm thrilled for her that she's involved with, a really good horse, whatever the outcome.
Teen sensation Michael Barcelona flew into partner Andre Farb's Pour Moi in an explosive gallop in which the colt quickened well clear of his lead horse. Andre Farb later described the son of Mongeur as his best ever chance of winning the Classic.
Michael Barcelona is allowing him to extend in his gallop, and he comes up to the line quite comfortably, showing a little bit of speed at the end of his gallop, and takes it quite comfortably. So an experience for him. That's Pour Moi.
Also working at Epsom was the Ed Dunlop trained Native Khan, who was partnered in a mile-and-a-quarter gallop by three-time Derby winning jockey Kieran Fallon.
Very pleased with the way he behaved. We weren't here to find anything out about him, just to help him behave, get used to what the environment entails. And no, Kieran was very happy. He said he was very balanced, very relaxed, and moved very well. He's done his faster work. He'll probably have one little blow before the race. Hopefully the rain will stay away. It's a little bit grayer today, but it was beautiful ground today, produced by Epsom, so thank them for that. No, we'll just tick him over, hopefully keep him safe and sound.
And how important is it to bring a horse to Epsom before the Derby? Is it sort of nice for them to get a sight of the track?
I've never done it before, to be honest. We've obviously won 2 Oakses and we didn't bring them. I wouldn't have brought him unless I thought he needed to look at the place. He walked around the paddock, he pretended to parade, and he had his first night away from home since joining us last year. So it was all just to help him mentally, really.
And sort of the big occasion of Derby Day, are you concerned that might be a bit of a problem for him?
Obviously it'll be a little bit different than what we got today, very quiet, easy atmosphere, but he was much better behaved in the Guineas than he was in the Craven, so yeah, I have no doubt that plenty of colts will get a little bit on his toes, but he tends to get a little bit warm, but when the jockey gets on him he seems fine, so we'll see what happens on the day, but hopefully it'll be okay.
So, after a morning in which connections of all the main Derby contenders opened up to the racing media, what has been the reaction of the bookmakers? Here's David Williams of Ladbrokes.
Well, it's fascinating. We've been to these breakfasts with the stars for a good number of years now, and it's very rare that something really sort of captures the attention. We saw Native Khan work first, and he was a 12-1 chance for the Derby before the race. Lots of people drawing pretty good form lines with that Guineas form with Frankel. We've left him at 12-1, and I don't think that price is necessarily under threat. It was just an easy spin. Without any question, the significant story that we've learnt here today, this morning at Epsom, is the well-being and the sheer talent of Pour Moi. It's a horse that we've always fancied. Straight after the Prix Greffoul, we took a very strong view, offering a single-figure price. 6-1 this morning. He worked very, very smartly. And Andre Farb, who isn't known necessarily for his effusiveness, has come out and said, look, this is my best chance of winning the Derby. He's into 5-1. My strong view is that he is definitely going to go off a clear second favourite behind the Queen's horse.
And Carlton House, very strong at the top of the market, is he? And what kind of price do you see him going off come Derby Day?
Well, it's fascinating. I mean, it was 6-4 straight after he won the Dante at York, when he really sort of put his head down and showed some maturity. He did a sparkling piece of work on the watered gallop over 9 furlongs yesterday, and we just clipped him into 5-4 from 11-8. I think there's very little doubt that he could touch even money, or possibly even shorter. The nation is going to gear up for this. It is a fantastic story, not just for racing, not just for sport, but across all of the news pages. It is not inconceivable that Carlton House will go off as a narrow odds-on favourite.
So Carlton House and Pourmois likely to come in for even further support. Is there a sort of lively outsider you can see running into the places at a big price?
Well, I mean, Godolphin have sort of clarified where they're going with their plans. Casamento, it looks as if he's going to go to France, but Ocean War with Frankie Dettori, whenever you get Frankie Dettori, OK, he hasn't got a fantastic record for Godolphin in the Derby, but at 16-1, I think he's the kind of horse that people will have a look at his form. It's reasonably solid. He could come in for each way support at what looks to be a fighting man's price. But as I say, the great thing about this is that Carlton House is going to be so short as a favourite that for those each way punters who can't bring themselves to backing something at even money, there's going to be some great each way value around.